Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark or the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1994 French drama, The Three Colors Red. Oh, excuse me for a second, I have to answer this. Hello?
On devra vous tuer.
Well, that was scary and alarming. I'm not sure what I did to deserve that. I'm just reviewing every movie that has 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1994 with The Three Colors Red. This movie has 100% fresh rating from the critics and a 94% fresh rating from the audience. It was directed by Kieslowski and was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including Best Director, Best Writing Screenplay, and Best Cinematography. Now, this movie is all about fraternity, which is how relationships are formed, and chance meetings, and this movie is absolutely phenomenal, fantastic. One of the best movies I've ever seen. This is the first Kieslowski movie I have ever seen, so I've not seen the other two in the trilogy, which would be The Three Colors Blue and The Three Colors White. Red is the last of the trilogy, and it was actually the last movie that he ever directed. Now, he knew it would be his last movie that he ever directed. He just didn't know how quickly afterwards he would pass away, which was very quickly afterwards. But this movie stars a woman named Valentine, who is a part-time model and a full-time student. When we are introduced to her, we quickly learn that she has a long-distance boyfriend who is just a complete jerk to her, very verbally and emotionally abusive. Even though they talk over the phone to each other predominantly, he is just very terrible to her, and it's incredibly hard to watch.
Ce que je veux, c'est la paix. Je veux une vie paisible.
T'auras pas la paix avec moi. T'es mal tombé. T'as rencontré quelqu'un?
Non. Je t'attends, toi.
Pourquoi est-ce que t'as pas décroché quand je t'ai appelé tout à l'heure?
So one day she's driving her car and she accidentally hits a Belgian Malinois, which is a dog, with her car. She gets out, she tries to make sure that the dog is okay, and then she ends up finding the owner of this dog and she drives it to his house. Now, we kind of see how these two characters are going to be throughout the movie when she brings the dog to the house. So she is very upset. She is emotionally damaged by this a little bit. So she takes the dog to the house, and the owner, who is Joseph, doesn't really care. Like he says, I own a dog, but like I don't care what happened to him. It doesn't matter to me. And we kind of see how these two characters feel about the people around them, where like he maybe treats them as objects, and she sort of treats them as actual living beings who have feelings and who have emotions and who feel pain, whereas he just thinks of people and animals as just objects, things he doesn't really care about.
Elle est sur la banquette arrière de ma voiture, vivante. Je sais pas ce qu'il faut faire. Voulez-vous que je l'emmène chez un vétérinaire?
Comme vous voulez.
Si j'avais écrasé votre fille, ça vous ferait le même effet?
Je n'ai pas de fille, mademoiselle.
She ends up taking him to the vet, and after the vet, he ends up running away, and he finds his way back to Joseph's house. Now, when she gets back to Joseph's house, she realizes that he is listening into his neighbors through some sort of sound device that he has set up where he can listen to them. She is appalled by this, and she says, you have to stop listening to these people. They deserve their privacy. They deserve to live their lives without people listening into them. And he says, well, like what I'm doing is not going to change the course of their lives. It's not going to change anything about their day-to-day. It's not like I'm listening to them and then calling them and chatting to them and telling them secrets about each other. I'm just listening in. This is just something that I like to do. And then we get back to the whole dog thing where he thinks of people as objects, and she thinks of people as people who actually have emotions and feelings and who should be, you should take their feelings into consideration, where he doesn't think this. So, they have a bit of an argument, and she talks about how disappointed she is that he's doing this, and then she leaves. So a few days later, she realizes that there's this big lawsuit against him, and she's worried that he thinks that she told. So she goes back to his house and she's like, I swear I didn't tell anyone that you were doing this. Like, I didn't tell a soul, I kept it to myself. And he says, oh, I know you did. I wrote letters to everyone to let them know that I was doing this. And I basically did it because of how passionate you were about what I was doing, how wrong you thought it was. And I wanted to try to redeem myself in your eyes for this act that I did. So after she does this, they have sort of a relationship with each other where they become friends and they see each other all the time. There may be like some sort of romantic thing on his side where he is falling for her a little bit. I don't really get that from her side though. I get it that he is falling for her. But you know, that doesn't really cultivate into anything. It doesn't really spawn a relationship. They just have a friendship throughout the entire movie. There's also this other story going on where there's this guy named Augusti, who is a younger judge. Oh, sorry, Joseph is a judge. He's a retired judge. And then this Augusti guy is also someone who is trying to become a judge. He's taking his test and he's doing everything he needs to become a judge. He has a girlfriend. This is like a separate story. He realizes throughout later in the movie that his girlfriend is cheating on him, and I think they try to tease whether or not Valentine is going to end up with Augusta. Although I didn't, I think at the end that's kind of what they're trying to do. But that whole plot was a little confusing to me. I might have to go rewatch it again. But I think that's what they're trying to do here. So later in the movie, Valentine has to leave and she's saying goodbye to the judge, and he basically tells a story about how um, he falsely found someone guilty when years later he realized that this person wasn't guilty. And then he tells a story about his girlfriend who died, and his last case that he had involved his ex-girlfriend's former lover, in which he found him guilty. And he should have just taken himself off the case, because obviously he has a reason why he would find this guy guilty, but he didn't. He didn't divulge that. He found the guy guilty, and then he ended up retiring right after that. At the end of the movie, Valentine is going on a ferry, and we learn that the ferry has crashed, or some terrible thing has happened to this ferry where a lot of people on it have died, except for like 7 people who they found alive. Now Joseph is watching the newscast and he's very upset by this, and you can see that he's emotional about what's going on. But then we learn that Valentine was one of the survivors, as well as Augusta, who was also on this boat, on this ferry. So maybe this house somehow will bring them together into a relationship at the end where their paths finally come together. Because in the whole movie, you're wondering, like, why are they showing these 2 separate stories? Is Valentine and Augusta going to get together at some point? And then at the end is where they finally do. Now, the end of the movie, I've looked this up, because they specifically, the 7 people who survive, specifically they focus on a couple different groups of people that weren't in the movie before, and I couldn't understand why it was important that these people survived, and why this specific number, and why they're focusing on these people. And I realized that at the end of the movie it ties in to Blue and White. And if you watch the entire trilogy, you'll find like some Easter eggs, and you'll find some things that click and that go together. You'll find some resolution to things at the end of Red. And I'm assuming, and I know that at the end of Red, there's characters from the other 2 movies that end up surviving this ferry crash, and it kind of ties things up. So that is the best I can do with the 3 Colors Red. I will say that it is an incredibly layered movie. It's a little bit complicated. It deserves more than one viewing to fully understand everything, and I've only seen it once, so I need to go back and watch it again. Hopefully I got everything that I was supposed to get. But I think this movie is absolutely fantastic. First of all, I love the color red. The color red is everywhere in this movie, as it should be, because it's, the three colors red. The only place that you won't see red and you won't see like jolly happy colors is in Joseph's house, and it's all muted like grays and blacks. It almost looks like an abandoned house. Really, you wouldn't think that anyone lives there. And that kind of shows the kind of person that he is, what you can expect from this person, the kind of life that he is leading, maybe the kind of life that he was leading. It really helps for him to kind of have this kind of house. If he's trying to hide what he's doing, no one's going to walk by his house and think that someone is living there spying on people. But the rest of the movie has really red really pops in the movie, and I absolutely love that. The writing is spectacular. It almost reminds me a little bit of Before Sunrise, which I will also review, I think, in a couple weeks. But in Before Sunrise, that movie to me is all about the dialogue and the relationship between the two characters, and just the banter that they had back and forth. And this movie is spectacular with that. The dialogue between these two characters is phenomenal. The chemistry that the two characters have is exceptional. The acting is absolutely fantastic. The way they're able to bring these characters to life and the way that you're able to believe these characters are who they are, it's absolutely amazing. At some point, you're not watching a movie. It's almost like you're watching something happen in real time, and it's fantastic. The cinematography is great. The writing is absolutely fantastic. I've heard that the pacing for this movie is slow. I didn't really get that at all. I thought the pacing was perfect for what they were going for, what they were doing. Every scene sets up another scene. And I really love the fact that in the movie, first of all, my wife's a veterinarian. I worked in the veterinary industry for about 5 years as well. And I really like how they they show the kind of people that these two are by how they treat this dog. Now, Valentine would treat this dog as like a member of her family, as a member of her house. And he treats the dog as an object that, oh, well, I lost an object. It doesn't matter. I'll find something else later on. And I really like how they use the animal to show that, because I think in real life, that's true. You can really judge a person's character by how they treat their animals. So I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. At the end, where he's talking about how he is retired and how he convicted a guy who wasn't actually guilty, and how he convicted a guy who was his girlfriend's ex-lover. I just really love the honesty and the way he's telling the story. It's not like he's gloating about it. He feels like actual shame and remorse about it, and he feels bad, and like he's been thinking about his entire life, what he's done, and how his life has come to this, and he's living with this guilt for his entire life. And I thought that was fantastic how they bring that out and how they show that. Absolutely phenomenal. The fact that he spies on his neighbors, I think I haven't seen really a movie that has that in it. The only thing I can think of is Rear Window, where he kind of looks out his window when he has a broken leg and watches his neighbors and sees what he thinks to be as a crime. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw him listening in on his neighbors. But I think it's a very great plot. It's unique. I haven't seen this before. Like I said, I really like the relationship between the two characters. I thought that it was fantastic. And I mean, I have to give this movie a 10 out of 10 because it's just so phenomenal. This runs into a problem because I know there's like 3 other movies from the 1990s that I'm going to give 10s to. So I'm starting to pile up a lot of 10 out of 10s here. But I'm just giving my honest opinions. And this movie, I can't give it anything but a 10 out of 10 just because it's so phenomenal. I hope you join me next week when I review the movie Bandit Queen, which I am halfway through, and I'm stuck here because that's almost a 10 out of 10 too. So that's like 4 more 10 out of 10s, but I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not sure if it's going to get a 10 out of 10. That's just where I'm at with it now. But I will finish that today. I will review it tonight, so I hope you will join me tonight with my review of The Bandit Queen. Thank you. Have a great day.